What's Stella, you say we need this?
There is this place where I was, and the mayor basically took the main street from the from the municipal to maybe like 1 kilometer, and all the tenants were evicted, all of them, and said this is a place for the creatives, the photographers, fashion designers, painters, what. And if you're a photographer, he installed a studio for you. Those who are doing ceramics, there was a place for them to do, with the machines to do that glazing and so on. Fashion designers, everything is there with that, sewing machines, painters, everything is there. So like we owned like all the apartments on the street. And then there was a main one, which was like a meeting place. And that meeting place, it had an internet cafe.
When you start a project, definitely, if it's a good idea, it has gone through the development process, then you start what we call in fundraising as an institution or even an individual who has a creative project. There is what they call fundraising, and that is if it's a public good, it's a common activity. If it's a business, that's a different thing. So when you're doing a business, creative business project, you're not asking for funding, you're asking for investment. People just get turned off by just being asked. You know, you just come and say, "Why you give me money?" I'm like, "Who are you?" You know,
why should I give you?
Why should I?
What is it?
How do I get them to know that I exist? You're not asking yet, but you're just trying to check to test the waters and see how whether it's possible. I've met Faisal. I know Eddie. I can, we've had a conversation. I trust what he's going to do. So that trust is built within that asking. Honestly, the money is there. There's a lot of money, and those who know how to find it, they always find it. But then you find others saying, "Oh, that one is taking our money." Yet you didn't make an effort to find it. We have sleepless nights. I wake up at 2 a.m. to write applications, proposals. I try to balance my office daytime and my fundraising time and all the other things. So you really have to make an effort. The US has just put out a call. The State Department has just put out a call for support for a collaborative grant between the US and Uganda. It's for institutions, it's for individuals, for practitioners that are interested in exchanging ideas and knowledge between US and Uganda specifically. And it's quite between $5,000 to $50,000. So it's available. I talked about earlier about the SCP fund, which was introduced already here in Uganda before COVID, I think. And finally, we got British Council and HEVA managing this fund for East Africa. So the call is almost out. I think they'll put it out in May or June. And when that call comes out, you can apply for like 180,000 euros for 3 years, that you can do whatever you want to do. It's both institutional and for individual projects.
Please share it far and wide. We are live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And this information will always remain there. You can watch the show anytime. You can share it far and wide. And Faisal will be back here next week. We'll be talking about investment into the creative industry and how we can go about it, and who needs what, where, when, how. We'll be talking about it next week. Until next week, Eddie Okila, Faisal Chiwewa, the founder and the CEO of Baobab Foundation, we're signing out on the Creative Talk. Welcome to this week's episode of Doa Doa. Our speaker this week is Alejandro from Chile.
Hi everybody, it's Alejandro Orellana from Chile, Santiago, winter, kind of. I would like to say thank you very much to Doa Doa and his 8th edition that invited to me to talk essentially about me, about what we are doing, what I am doing in my activity here in this corner of the world. I started working in the music business around 1996 in jazz music. I lived in Italy for around 27 years. And then I moved to Chile around 12 years ago, and I started to work also in world music, essentially because in 2014 we had, with my partners, we had the idea to promote a WOMAD festival in Chile. It was the first one in South America. And this made that I started around 2012, I started to work more into the world music universe. And it was very interesting because I started to know other kind of music. I started to know other kind of regions of the world where there was a lot of very beautiful music. Then after 5 years, 6 years with promoting WOMAD Festival, unfortunately the festival has been cancelled by now, but because of the pandemic we have to go back again on the road for next year. One of the main projects that I started around 1 year ago under pandemic was the Direct Music Collective and Virtual Market, which is a small structure, which is dedicated mainly to promote and to work around Latin American music and Latin American creators coming from jazz and from world music created in Latin America. And this is why in December we realized a digital market called Virtual Market. And after that, we created a catalog, kind of database of Latin American music, which is available to everybody in the world. It's an open, free catalog. We have around 200 bands in the catalog, and this is growing up every day with new bands and new proposals from this part of the continent. And the last thing we did, we realized Direct Music Magazine, which is a digital magazine dedicated to jazz and world music and other kind of also styles and topics like culture and politics and social matters. And this has been a very nice project that had a lot of success. We just released the first number 1 month ago, and now we are preparing the second one. The magazine will be available soon in English. I hope soon, I mean, kind of 3 or 4 months. And it's focalized mainly in Latin American. This is our niche. But also we talk about some international musicians and about some international topics related with music business around the world. Talking with some interesting friends, festival directors or market directors or agents or musicians coming from around the world. In fact, one of the main spots of the Virtual Market and the collective is dedicated to the Latin American and Chilean original roots music. The importance of the original nations, the First Nations in Chile and Latin America, it's in this moment, in the last, 50 years, it's complicated because they don't have, the root music doesn't have any place to be performed, or there is not much attention to that specific kind of culture. So in WOMAD Chile Festival and in our activities as collective and as Virtual Market and as a magazine, we are trying to focus also our attention into this kind of original music, roots music coming from some specific areas of mostly from the south of Chile, from some ethnical currents like Mapuche music, which is very interesting because we have to look for it. It's not easy sometimes to find it, but luckily there are some young musicians that are working on that side, and we are trying always to be in touch with them. One of them, Ernesto Holman, he's a Chilean bass player, we can say a jazz musician, but he has focused his own all work, musical work, since around 10 years into this kind of ethnical source, Mapuche Indians from south of Chile, and is one of the most successful musicians that we are presenting all around the world. We have been in Toronto, we have been in Canada, we have been in Korea, we have been in Europe, we have been more or less all over South America. So this proof that roots music or root source music is not just something for specialistic festivals, but also can arrive to a wider public and a wider attention. And also working on this world music world, business or universe, we noticed as WOMAD mostly that the presence of African music was almost unknown. Okay, there are some big stars that are hanging around all over the world, but I am sure, and we were sure 5 years ago, that there were other sources for African music, East African music or African music generally speaking, that were totally unknown in this part of the world. In Chile and in the cone south of South America, I mean Argentina, Chile, there is not a big presence of African culture, historically speaking. It's not the same situation as in Brazil, where there was slavery, there was an immigration, forced immigration in the past centuries. But in Chile and Argentina, that was very, very few, a very, very small presence. So Africa is a kind of very unknown place, a very unknown universe. We don't know much about it, and it's always seen as a kind of very mystery place, a very mystery paradise, natural paradise. And this is what we are also doing as festival and as personal research, is trying to get connected with that part of the world, because it's immense, because there is a lot of things that are happening there, mostly in the last 10 years or 15 years. There's I know to us, market, there's very big opportunities and good opportunities for business there. So I think that we should look to Africa in a very special way, mostly these days. So the invitation is very simple. It's very easy. It's just to get connected with this part of the world, to make networks with this part of the world, and start building something. Start building the presence after this awful year of pandemic. Start building bridges and start building the presence of Latin American music in Africa and African music in Latin America. There are festivals that can be interested. There are many ways to work in both sides of the world with something that possible is new to both sides. I mean, I don't think that, or maybe I can imagine that Latin American music, talking about Latin American music from Mexico to Chile, so it's a very wide country, very wide region. I think there's not much present in Africa, generally speaking. And in the same way, the African culture, but exception for specific things, is very unknown here. So there is a very, very big space to work together. This is my wish. This is what I would like to do. This is why we created the collective, and we are going to do. We are doing networking job with African structures, and we want to keep going on with that. We think that there's a very good opportunity because there is not much happening. I really, from my heart, I really would like to invite everybody to come to Latin America, to listen to American music, to get connected with the structures that are working already here in Latin America, like us, like Direct Music Collective, in order to understand and know better what is happening this side of the world. And the same thing we would like to do, trying to dig inside as much as possible in the African culture, in the African music. So the invitation is open to everybody that wants to discover that Latin American music is more than salsa, cha-cha-cha, and dancing, in the Caribbean regions. There's a lot of things happening here. There is a whole universe of rhythms, a whole universe of harmonies, a whole universe of music and experimentation that wants to go abroad, that wants to go out from Latin America, from this country. And we need to make them now. We need to make them be more famous all around the world. And inviting the whole African area to come to visit us, to come to listen to our music, is the first step to move into that direction. Again, I really, really appreciate this invitation. I hope that this edition will be very successful. And I really would like to go to Africa as soon as possible. I have been just in North Africa for markets and musical meetings, but there is a whole world to discover there, and I hope that in the next year I will be able to visit you. Thank you very much.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another edition of Doa Doa 2021, a virtual docu-series. As you've heard from the speaker, I would like to focus on the artist of the week. And she's all the way from Jinja, the city that birthed the source of the Nile. Welcome to Lily Kadima.
Lily Kadima. Big Nash. Nazala mfuki de chizibu. Wow. Nazala.
My name is Lilian Naziwa, aka Lily Kadima, the Ugandan, African, straight out of Kampala, capital city of Uganda. Here I come. I just want to tell you a story on this virtual edition 2021 9th Doa Doa. Yes, it's been tough. Lockdown has gotten us here, but we are live and kicking. We're live and kicking. I'm not so sure about money, but I think I am eating food, good food. Check me before and check me now. There is food on the table. Lilian Naziwa Birungi, aka Lily Kadima. I come from the central, but I'm half caste. My mother comes from the eastern part of Uganda, Jinja, Budondo, Chibibi, all the way across the Nile. Yeah, that's why I sing partially Lusoga, and then actually my stem, the music stems from that part. And because of my paternal side, I'm traveling to the central too for the Luganda. But I would wake up to any language, musically, any language, but I'm not smart speaking languages, but I can sing any language. child, I was very quiet. I was an introvert. I've always been an introvert, very so much. But I loved, however, whenever there was a group of music, of people singing, I would come closer, just very silent, listening, sometimes participate, but still not very present. Though when I was a child, I fantasized a lot about being a star. I used to admire big stars. I grew up watching Lucky Dube, that is in my father's house, Chela Mwana, listening these music concerts. My father had concerts recorded for Paul Cafero, the late Phile Bongo Lelutaya, and then on TV, I was the chief entertainer, chief in charge of entertainment at home. So the remote was always in my hands. But I didn't know that was the calling, because I wanted every now and then to look out for channels that are having entertainment. But I swear I didn't know that I was going to hold the microphone. But my soul was just telling me that I'm going to be somewhere. But I just didn't know. I could not paint the picture right. But whether it was music, my soul existed just like that, just like that. So as a child, of course, I loved interacting with my siblings, neighbors, children. So when it was holiday time, I'd invite them. And I always made sure I was the leader. If I was not the leader, there is no shows in the evening. I was only when I was the lead.
This is another thing. Omuntu oyo goba wetaga mufeko. Rose abagezi bakanura amaso. Chiwali onoonya bwe wakifuna atolyawo kizanyisa. Wali onoonya bwe wamulaba labayo wuyo mudingisa. Kati njagala nkulabule ekintu ekyo ky'ozanyisa. Balala buli lwe bakitunulira bakiraba kirimu omusaayi. Akakanyomonyomonyomo ky'otayagala gy'okite. Olaba abaana bakuna batasumagira bwe bali kuba busu.
If I found a child right now, I would advise them to focus and just learn a lot of music instruments and figure out their own journey and not really go through this. But it depends. If you want to make money, you have to survive, period. Especially if the support is not really there. It comes later maybe when people learn and you can't explain your vision to everyone. They may not understand and it's a lot of energy. So my journey has been it's tiring and it's just started, I may say. But it takes patience, passion, a lot of passion. It's passion that has kept me on the lane, period. I wake up to that side where I just want to do what I believe in, what I want to do. You don't have to like it. If I like it, I will walk my journey. So I'm an Afrofusionist, exploring different styles of music, of course, out of experience. It takes experience, practicing a lot, and I could wake up. Apparently, I've been working an Afropop journey. I have an album out there that is called Iwalinachi album that is right now on the streaming on digital platforms. If you would go there is Iwalinachi album, that is IGHE, Olinachi, OLINAKI, that is, yeah, it stems from Eastern Uganda, meaning what do you have? What do you pride in? So I was exploring and just trying to show you things. I picked on the road, but then I figured out Lily Kadma sound. So don't be surprised if next year I walk reggae, the other day I walk a blues album or a rock album. Yes, I'm capable. I've practiced good enough and I'm still practicing. So I have a lot to give and share. And yes, that's Lily Kadma. For you, I am here, and I've always been a live music singer. That's all I know, live music. Iwalinachi, let me show you my way. Iwalinachi baba, Iwalinachi muna. Nature champaire, let me give to you.
Let me show you my way. Baba, nature champaire, let me give it all. Oh, simali, sima kuena, chibumba wakua, iwe rachi to sima baba. Mama, what do I know? I told hey, Gazira Mokisamona, hey, Mona chibumba wakua, bano simanga. Kamba kobereko ebyanga ndi mukazi mutono mwirugavu nengende nkazula cause I am special, I am lucky. Nature champagne, let me get to you.
What motivates me to do the kind of music I do, it's the journey. It's the journey, the challenges in society, myself, what I've gone through, and wanting to share how I break my emotions out there, and hoping that there's other people like me and the different societies that are going through all these different things, and also just appreciating. I love art as a person. I believe in creative arts. I love to create a lot. So I wake up to that side where I just want to release something out there because I enjoy creating. My soul is around creative arts. So I love creating things just from scratch to something. So my society itself has a lot going on, the African society. And the most interesting thing about African stories, when there's pain, the beat has to go on. When there's pain, I would showcase with my song Nazala. Nazala is about a mother-in-law. And with things happening around domestic violence, challenges of a girl child, in a relationship.
Big Nash, Nazala mfukide chizibu, wow. Nazala.